This episode of The Trap Set is brought to you in part by Colectivo Coffee. Handmade coffee since 1993. Check them out online at colectivo.com.
This is Joe Wong. Welcome to The Trap Set, where each week we explore the lives of drummers. I want to play something for you.
Imagine us triumphant, rolling, laughing green. A sudden rash remembers what's buried in this scene.
You're hearing I Want It All by TransAm, featuring my guest, Sebastian Thomson on drums. Formed in Bethesda, Maryland in 1990, TransAm is a stylistically fluid band with a consistent aesthetic. Seb's drumming, an intersection of Bonham-esque swagger and Kraftwerkian precision, has enabled the band to traverse multiple genres over the course of its 10 albums. TransAm's pace has slowed over the years, but Seb has maintained a busy schedule. He joined popular metal band Baroness in 2013 and is featured on their most recent album, Purple. He also creates electronic music under the moniker Publicist. I spoke to him last year in San Francisco. And now our conversation with Sebastian Thomson.
Where were you born?
I was born in Argentina.
Your parents are Argentinian.
Yeah, we're Argentine. We left.
It's Argentine, not
You
Argentinian.
can say either one. I like saying Argentine because it's shorter.
Okay.
And then we had to leave because of the political situation down there. And then kind of grew up in the D.C. suburbs.
How old were you when you left?
I started kindergarten in Bethesda,
Okay.
Maryland.
Okay.
And then I did elementary school and junior high school. And then, junior high school. And then I started high school in Argentina. We went back.
Okay. So did you speak Spanish at home the whole way when you were in the States?
I mean, it's like we were always, we spoke English and Spanish both. And as the years went on, after living in America for so long, the percentage got heavier and heavier English, And now at this point, it's like 90% English.
With your parents.
Yeah.
And then you went back for high school.
Yeah.
Did you like going back?
At first, I hated it, because it was very different from Bethesda. And I was like, starting high school and like, girls.
What were
and
your interests at that
partying.
point? In girls and partying?
No, I was. My interests were just being a super nerd.
Like
you know,
what? In what way?
Like role-playing games,
Really?
science, being a super dork, music. Obviously, I always liked, like most kids at that age.
Were you a musician at that point?
I had just quit playing violin at that point,
Okay.
but I was, I liked the whole band thing, as you do at that age, and I started playing drums in Argentina because my buddies were starting a band, and it was a covers band, and this was the 80s, so it was like The Police and The Cure and stuff like that. And I was the kid that spoke English best in my school or my class. So they were like, "You're going to be the singer."
Was it a bilingual school?
It was a bilingual school, but that's like kind of the English was the kids. Everybody spoke Spanish. Like you had to be like in the afternoon. The afternoon was like the English part of the day,
Right.
but like you were a dork if you spoke English. Like you had to that was like
So you spoke English and you played role-playing games. So you were
Total
pretty much
dork.
the biggest dork in the world.
biggest dork in the world. But after 2 years, my second 2 years were great. That's when I sort of realized that, I can have some fun.
What does that mean?
I started doing what every normal kid does. You know, started going to partying, whatever. You know, playing in a band, having fun.
Do you think that the party environment in Argentina was more permissive, like were parents more loose?
Incredibly more permissive. There was no drinking age, as far as I knew. I was like 16 and going to bars. Everybody was drinking gin tonics, whatever, going to clubs. And yeah, and like you learn to drink with your parents. You know, it's like normal to like drink wine at the asado when you're like 14, you know. There isn't this thing of like, you have no alcohol and then you're 21 and then you get wasted.
Right.
That's just like...
Sounds healthier down there.
That's a totally weird concept for them. And I think for a lot of countries in the world.
Did you want to go back to the States?
I did not, actually. It was weird. You know, when I first got to Argentina, I was like, oh, God, I want to go back to America. And then when I was finishing high school, I was like having a good time. And I was like, I don't want to go back to America.
What did your parents do?
My dad was an architect and a urban planner. But he, being slightly, whatever, kind of lefty, was on the shit list.
Mm.
So, yeah. You know, they put a lot of people in jail for no reason and killed a lot of people.
Did that ever come close to happening to your family?
Well, I mean, that's why we left. That's why it didn't happen. It happened to my dad's friends. He has friends who were put in jail and stuff. And
wow.
Yeah, for sure. It was bad.
What brought you back to the States? You didn't want to come back, but you came back.
What brought me back to this? I think it was mainly my mom. I think. I mean, I came back for college. That's why I came back. But my mom was just like, Argentina's great. I love it. It's a great country, but it's kind of third world, let's be honest. And my mom was just kind of sick of it. Everything works in America. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of chaotic.
So was it
there.
the kind of thing where like power would go out for a couple hours once in a while?
That's exactly. Every summer.
Streets wouldn't.
Every summer for like 4 hours in the afternoon, no power.
Right.
Because the grid can't handle the air conditioning.
Right.
It's like, okay. Like shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a huge problem. It's just like.
But your mom had probably.
She was over it.
Become accustomed to the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Bard College in
okay.
upstate New York.
Were you studying music or art or something?
I was studying physics. Still a super nerd.
What was your identity at that time? Like, what did you think you were going to do with your life?
I thought maybe I was going to continue doing science. The music thing was like something that I enjoyed more and put more energy into, but I never thought it was going to be like a career.
Right.
You know?
Was it a fantasy even?
I think it had been sort of like so many times people are just like, well, you know, this is not a real career path, whatever. You're like, okay, fine, I get it. Like, this is just for fun. But then, you know, when I met Phil and Nate, that's when I encountered the more sort of American DIY underground scene, which was...
How did you meet the other guys? Did you meet them at Bard or...
No, we grew up in the same neighborhood, and I had met them briefly in junior high school, but we weren't like bros yet. So they went to the high school I would have gone to if I'd stayed in America.
Okay.
So I got back from...
did those guys go to Oberlin?
I did. Phil went to Oberlin, yeah. And then I got back from America, and Phil and Nate had a band with a drummer, and they were dissatisfied with him, and we had friends in common, and my friend Jim said to Phil, hey, my friend Seb's back from Argentina, he plays drums, you should jam with him. And they came over to my house, and I think we played Hey Joe. It was the first time we played.
Okay. So it was like a covers band at first.
Oh, no, I mean, there were some covers, but we were writing our own stuff pretty
what was the
early
concept? Like, what was inspiring you at the time?
At the time, it was, I mean, this is gonna be kind of embarrassing. It was, I'll be honest, there was a bit of like Red Hot Chili Peppers,
mm-hmm.
But there was also a lot of like Fugazi
Right.
inspiring us too.
So you're in college, you're studying physics. Did you graduate with a physics degree?
I did, and actually started a PhD.
Okay. And what changed your course?
The first TransAm album came out, and we got asked to tour with Tortoise in Europe, and I was like kind of hating grad school. It was so fucking stressful.
Where were you at grad school?
At University of Maryland, College Park. And it was just so much fucking work, and it's like I can't think of a more like intellectually competitive and very macho environment in a way.
Not a lot of female students?
It's very that world is very male dominated, and it's very competitive, and it's because it's like I'm gonna discover new truths about the universe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everybody else is an idiot. That's the attitude.
Do you think that
You know what
that
I'm saying?
attitude exists in music too?
Well, it shouldn't. It does, but it shouldn't, because the arbiter of music is just public opinion.
Right.
The judge of science is reality.
I guess, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So musicians, we should be a little bit more humble and just realize it's just a cultural project. Just cool.
True. You left grad school.
Yeah, so we were doing much better than I thought any of us thought we would be doing. Like we actually started getting like checks from Thrill Jockey and whatever, and the tour was happening, and we were touring more, and I was like, well, getting into grad school is not a matter of luck. It's just a matter of hard work. Going on tour and making a bit of money is you need some luck in that equation. So I was like, I can always go back to grad school if I want to.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like dropped out basically.
Do you ever want to go back?
No, I mean, I still love reading about it, and I keep up with things, but it's like, it's just the reality of that world. It's really, really hard work.
Do you feel like it would be too late to shift
I think it
course?
would be. I mean, honestly, like doing high level math, it's kind of like working out.
There ain't nothing wrong with you. There ain't nothing wrong with you. There ain't nothing wrong with you. I ain't lying. There ain't nothing wrong with you. There ain't nothing wrong with you. There ain't nothing wrong with you. That mental poison messed up your mind.
When do you feel like you came into your own as a drummer, if at all?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's like any like break point.
Was there a point when you felt like you developed a style?
I don't think you realize it. You know?
Was there a point when you felt more comfortable?
I always feel like it could be done better somehow. You know what I mean?
Do you always have that feeling after a show? Like, that was
no,
pretty good,
it's
but-
more in the studio, because the show is like there's so many other elements going on with the entertainment aspect of it and the nightlife aspect of it that you don't
Sure.
have to get so critical. But in the studio, it's different. And I think part of being a semi-successful musician is understanding that sometimes you're just going to have to deal like, okay, it's not exactly the way I envisioned it, and that's all right.
Yeah, learning how to accept when it's
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah. That sounds terrible.
But it's true, right?
Yeah, because you could just like if you can go down this rabbit hole of like freaking out over one thing that nobody's ever going to fucking
And then you can
care
also
about.
ruin it that way too.
Yeah,
by getting
you can
too
make
precious.
it. Yeah, or make it too clinical.
Yeah. Have you ever?
Totally.
Do you feel like you've ever made that mistake, or have you been able to pull back?
I mean, you know, sometimes with the advent of computer recording, you can really edit things to the point where they're too clean. But I don't think TransAm's really suffered from that. I think we leave the warts in there pretty well.
Are you proud of everything that you've done with TransAm, or do you ever listen back and find things that you don't like?
I'm like proud of like 95% of it.
Do you think that you've gotten more proud, like once some time has passed and you listen back and you don't remember everything that initially bothered you about it?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I really honestly don't listen to our back catalog very much. It'll happen once every now and again. Like if I haven't turned on my iPod in like 2 years, I'm like, oh, and I'm going for a drive, and then I'll like check out a record. But it's very rare that I listen to any old TransAm, so I can't really.
Do you think of yourself as an instinctual drummer or an intellectual drummer? or some sort of combination?
I think it's more probably on the intellectual side because I like to think about ideas.
Give me an example.
I just like to like some drum patterns I play, like I'll program it in MIDI, something that I do not know how to play intentionally, and force myself to learn it. Like it's not something that's instinctual for me.
What are your goals moving forward creatively? You're here making a new record.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking long term or short term?
Well, let's talk about short term first.
Short term. Right now, we are in El Studio in San Francisco, working on what will be the 11th TransAm studio album. So the goal this week is to write, the three of us. You know, we do two different things. One thing we do is we each bring some beginnings of a song, and then we add stuff and rearrange stuff.
So you bring in melodic ideas?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, like I'll bring in things that have like a groove and one instrument, like a sequenced keyboard synth. Or sometimes I'll bring in like a bass line, but not more than that. Like, because I want to leave it open for the other dudes too.
Okay. Do you have a concept that you're going for on this album? Do you think about that stuff?
We do have a list of ideas and concepts. One of the things we do is we kind of react to our past. So we try to maybe take lessons from what we liked and didn't like about past things, or not about liking or not liking, but things that we can do differently. You know, we'll see. We're still in the very, very early stages of this, so we'll see what direction this record takes.
How long do you normally spend recording?
Well, I live in New York, and Nate lives in Portland, and Phil lives in Oakland. So we meet like a couple times a year, and we hang out for a week. So it's very, very limited time-wise. So we'll probably do like 3 visits of writing and recording, and then 2 visits of mixing, you know. So it'll probably take like 2 years or something.
And this is just the first visit?
Yeah, this is the very first start of a new album.
It's interesting. It seems like the type of music that you guys and Tortoise played was really big in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then it kind of waned in popularity.
Do you think it's come back?
I think it's going to come back.
Well, we were just talking about
Tortoise
that.
has a new album coming out, and it seems like people are getting excited about it.
Yeah.
I mean, things always go in cycles, right?
We just wrote a very, very 90s riff yesterday that I think...
It's going to make you some money?
I think it's going to... Everybody that, you know... It's like Slint Fugazi.
Uh-huh.
Which we really kind of steered away from that kind of stuff for a long time because it was something that we did at the time when we were just kids, you know. But why not? Like you said, maybe it's come back.
The Trap Set will always be available for free, but we rely on donations from our listeners. Please visit our website at thetrapset.net and click donate. Subscribe to our show on iTunes, and if you enjoy what you hear, give us a review.
Your audience shrunk a little bit, or the people that were coming stopped coming.
Come on.
Well, they probably
we're sitting right here, dude.
Some of them had kids and like don't go out anymore.
No, it's true. It's
you
true.
know what I mean?
No, it's true. It's true. I mean,
I'm bringing it up because I think the last time I saw you guys, somebody mentioned that.
Yeah,
one of you guys mentioned it.
I mean, the other thing is like.
Do you think that humbled you in some way, in a good way?
Well, we were never that big. It's not like we needed to be like taken off our high horse. It wasn't like.
I think maybe it was posturing, and maybe it was that I was like a younger guy. But like I remember when the TA record came out, I came to the. I was in a band in DC at the time, and I came to the release party at Pharmacy Bar.
Yes,
and like I was like, man, these guys seem like they're so high on themselves right now. I mean, it was
a release party.
It was your release party.
Yeah.
But it was just I had an
You're like, these guys are
impression
dickheads.
you guys just seemed really aggressive at the time.
Were we wearing white blazers?
Probably.
We were probably wearing white blazers and doing a lot of
white drugs.
white drugs.
That's the vibe I got.
Fucking raging. Whatever. Somebody's got to rage, you know?
How do you think the Seb of now is different from the Seb of then? Do you still rage? You raged last night.
I still rage. We raged with battles last night. I mean, I'm, a lot older, but I'm still single, and I live in Brooklyn. So what else am I going to do?
Rage?
Right. I rage.
What do you do when you're not working on TransAm stuff?
I play in a band called Baroness,
Okay.
and that's taken up most of my last couple of years.
Tell me about that band.
That band, have you heard it?
No.
That band started in Savannah like 10 years ago as a sort of like a sludge metal crust punk band, and then it developed into their own weird. I'm saying they because this is before I joined. They were called progressive metal for a while, but that's a kind of a weird phrase. It's a little bit like I describe it like a little bit like it's like the rhythm section of maybe Fugazi with like Thin Lizzy over the top of it. It's a very weird combination in a way, but it's a rock band. And they parted ways with their drummer 3 years ago, and then we got in touch, and I learned 10 of their songs, and I auditioned, which I've never done before. And
Yeah, how did you feel about that? Did it
was-
make you nervous?
I was totally nervous, but it was a really fun thing to do because I've never done it, and that's something I kind of regret. That with my drumming, it's like I didn't learn a lot of covers as a kid. I was always doing whatever music, whatever band was doing, like in high school or with TransAm or my college band. So I kind of like missed out on learning other people's tricks. I feel like that I should have learned.
Well, it's not too late. Right?
And you're totally right, and that's what I'm saying. Learning the songs for Baroness, I learned some of Alan's tricks, and now I use them, and it was a great experience.
What have you learned from playing in Baroness?
You know what I've learned? That it's never. I have to be honest with you. I think I'm playing better now than I maybe have ever. I don't mean like today. I'm saying like
Why?
because I'm
Because it forced you to learn something new?
It forced me to learn something new, and it forced me to play a lot more. Because what happened was with TransAm, we all moved away, and then I have a solo thing which is mainly electronic, and so I was playing a lot less drums for a while there, like 4 years ago, and then I started playing drums again, and like Baroness rehearses a lot, and I was practicing a lot, and now I've gotten into a habit at home of where I just go and I'll play for like 4 hours a day.
You can play at home?
I have a little rehearsal space in Brooklyn, which is hilarious because it's so small that when I close the door, I can lean on the door.
Is this the first time in your life when you've spent that much time practicing by yourself?
Since high school, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. And it's like I didn't think that I would do that, and I have. And it's never too late is what I'm saying.
Right. So you're going to go back and become a physics professor is what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That is too late.
Okay, so you kind of classified yourself as somewhat of an intellectual drummer, but do you get a visceral response when you play?
Of course, yeah.
Like every time? When you're practicing
Yeah.
even? Like do you get a thrill out of it?
I go through phases when I'm practicing. Like I think, like another thing I've learned is like I kind of get off on the first stage of my practice, which is where I'm just like doing like warm-up exercises with a metronome. And I kind of get off on the very zen-like quality of that, where I'm not like pushing myself to learn something new, and I'm just like enjoying just like the 16th notes. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
I mean, I think that's the most zen-like thing you can ever do.
Yeah.
Is like try to get better at the most simple thing
Yeah,
possible.
so I like that first half hour of my practice, and then if I don't have something I need to learn, I'll just play along to some whatever is on my iPhone, and that will be fun.
You gave me some of your short-term creative goals. What are your long-term goals?
Long-term creative goals, the next couple of years, we'll finish this TransAm record for sure. And then next year, there's going to be a lot of touring with Baroness, which is going to be awesome. Because we just finished...
Do you love touring?
I do love touring. I love it. And with Baroness is more successful than TransAm, so it's kind of cush. Like it's on a
So
tour.
you're making good money playing with Baroness.
I'm
too.
making money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a job.
So it affords you
It affords me to live
the lifestyle
in
that you want to
Brooklyn.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a lot of money, but whatever. It's money. And we tour in a bus and stuff, so it's like it's really not stressful or tiring. I mean, you can sleep as much as you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not a big deal, you know.
So then is it a drag to go back and tour with TransAm?
No, it's great because TransAm is it's pretty different, you know, and in some ways, I mean, we tour with TransAm, we tour in a van, which can be more fun because it's, you know, on a tour bus you have bus call and it's like a bigger production, so you're kind of less independent,
Right.
you know what I mean? When it's TransAm, it's just us like having fun on the road, like not worrying about scheduling and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So coming back to your long-term goals.
Oh yeah. So the Baroness tour, make a couple of more Baroness albums, and then I have this solo thing called Publicist, and I have 2 tracks coming out on Planet E Records, which is Carl Craig's label. I don't know if you know, he's like the Detroit techno guy. Hopefully do more shows with that. And just hopefully make a little bit of cash with the Baroness record and keep on making music, keep on making records,
And you
keep on
mentioned
practicing.
You mentioned that you're still single.
Yes.
Is like a long-term relationship something that you yearn for?
I don't know. My attitude is like whatever happens will happen. I don't think it's good to
Do you have any kids?
I don't think so. No.
So whatever happens, happens?
Whatever happens, happens. I mean, I don't think it's good to like force a person into your romantic goal.
No.
What happens, happens.
Sure. But I think like in a similar way, like we can have other goals or put our intentions out there in the universe. And
no, you're right. I mean,
works.
I'm not against a serious relationship. I just think that you have to enjoy whatever is happening right now.
You could not look at me as I looked at you. You were magnetically drawn again to touch my flesh with your mouth or hands and with your whole body.
Do you have any regrets?
Hey, of course.
Like what?
I don't know. Maybe I don't.
Come on, man.
I was going to say yes, just because I guess everybody does. But now that I think about it, I mean, I think I've made very wise decisions.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I hear Phil laughing in the corner there. Come on, what do you regret? What do you really, I mean, not stupid mistakes that you make as a kid, but what do you regret? I mean, are you happy with what your
Yeah,
life has
I'm
become?
psyched.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. I'm like, it's kind of insane. I've never had to work a fucking job as an adult. That's insane. For over 20 years.
It's always been from bands?
It's always been from bands. It's totally fucking crazy. And that is, I appreciate how weird that is. And I love it. I mean, I do whatever I want, whenever I want.
Sounds pretty good.
It's great, unless I'm on tour.
What do you think you'll be doing in another 20 years? Do you think that way? Do you
No,
plan?
I don't. I wish I did, but I don't.
Why? Why do you wish you did?
Because it's probably
It's worked
smart.
out so far.
It's worked out so far. You know, you're right. It's worked out
Nothing
so
could ever
far.
go wrong, man.
Nothing is ever going to go wrong. It's always going to work out. But I mean, it hasn't. I mean, it's not like it's been like you know, easy the whole time. It's been kind of a nightmare. at
How
times.
so?
It's not a nightmare. It's.
Wait, you just said it was.
I know. I was just being dramatic. I just think that
You just think it's a nightmare because you've never had to have a job.
the nightmare. No, I'll tell you what the nightmare is. The nightmare is that like if I like break my wrist, like what?
You got to get that shit insured, man.
What do I do then? I'm fucked. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do I do with my life if I break my wrist?
Do a Def Leppard.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of stuff that's scary. And then also, like, the music business is totally weird. It's, like, not very stable. Your band can become horribly unpopular overnight, and then you're like, what the fuck do I do now? So that's the...
Have you ever felt that way?
I probably should have worried about it more than I have, you know, but I didn't.
Should have worried?
Yeah.
Where would have that gotten you?
You're right. Once again, I wouldn't have done anything different. So
How does worrying benefit us?
it doesn't.
Sometimes I guess it might if it changes the course in a healthy direction.
I'm like kind of like the opposite of a hypochondriac.
Okay.
I'm like, just everything's fine.
There
I'm
should be a
fine.
word for that. I wonder
I'm like,
what the word
whatever, it'll work out. Who cares?
is. Have you ever had existential dread?
Of course, but I was younger.
Were you raised Catholic?
No, we're not religious in my family.
See, neither were we, and I feel like I had more existential dread as a result.
Well, yeah, of course. You have to face the fact that the entire universe will disappear and all your memories will disappear.
Yeah.
And it's all for naught.
See, my loophole was when I was like 6, you know, I didn't believe in God, but I still believed in Santa Claus. So I asked
Wow.
Santa Claus for immortality for me and my family one year.
Damn.
And all I got was a Nintendo, but that was
pretty good.
almost as good.
Yeah. Whoa. No, honestly, my attitude now is that I find the idea of ultimate death like actually very comforting. Because it's the final.
Sure.
Finally,
it's
I get
the only
an escape.
thing that gives meaning to anything.
Well, also the idea of an afterlife kind of freaks me out more than death. Honestly, the idea of being anywhere, whatever or wherever it is, for the rest of eternity, it's kind of terrifying. That's terrifying to me.
Have you ever tried to like think of it in a scientific way?
Yeah, I don't think we're really affected that much.
Yeah.
I think we're just like a little
Blip on the radar.
a blip on the radar, and then it's gone. I mean, honestly, the Earth is going to be a blip on the radar.
Sure.
and we'll be gone.
But our brains are designed to make us feel a lot more important than that.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's a fantasy. You know, we're just apes crawling around the surface of a little planet.
I think that okay, we're going off into that direction. Now we officially qualify for high school philosophy class.
Sure, it's great. I'm down.
What's your advice for young drummers out there that want to make it?
You gotta
make it the same way you
you gotta
made it?
to make it. Well, here's what I would say. There's two very different things. If you want to make it as like a musician, and by that I mean like playing in a band that writes their own music and you help to write it and you're doing something new, you have to, sorry to say, you have to kind of hang in the scene. You have to see what's going on in whatever city you're in. You have to go to the shows. You have to get inspired. You have to do that. Now, if your path is session, that's a completely different thing.
Would
And
you ever want to go the session route, given how much fun it was to learn the Baroness songs?
I don't think I have the enough technique in me to do that. But I was going to say, and I think it's important to understand those two differences, because a lot of, maybe it happens mainly more with drummers. They're like, I want to be in this cool new band that's going to make cool new music and do cool new things, and I'm going to go to music school. I kind of don't think that makes sense. Music school is good if you want to do the other side of it,
Yeah.
the more session-y side of it.
I mean, they're not mutually exclusive either.
They're
necessarily.
but that's kind of what I'm getting at, that they sort of can be.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. They theoretically they're not, but in practice they can be.
And that's closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts.
Seb, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
The Trap Set is produced by me, Joe Wong, along with Chris Karwowski, who also edits the program. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Trap Set, and visit our website, thetrapset.net, to subscribe to our show for free. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please donate to our show. If you can't afford to donate, please tell a friend and give us a good rating on iTunes. Send your feedback and guest requests to thetrapset@gmail.com.